Hello, everyone. Today is another day with Michael on the script Science is the New Religion. It is the 24th of February, 2024. Thank you for having me with you, Michael. Welcome.
Welcome, Brett, and of course, welcome,
Hector
Hector.
as well, yes. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and delve into the topic of Mary worship, I guess, huh, Michael?
Yeah. I guess that many people out there are just quite interested or even shocked of all the so-called coincidences with the current politics out there. Yeah, so this is just Mary. Mary means rebellion. We know since last time. The nursery rhyme, Mary Had a Little Lamb, was written early 1830 by Sarah Josepha Hale of Boston and published in 1830 in etc., etc. It is just a nursery rhyme. Mary had a little lamb. Do you think that is a coincidence, Brett?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, of course it's not a coincidence.
So from the young age, people see that, oh yeah, that's so great, and little lamb, and this is just Mary, and you see Mary is much more important because Mary is human and the lamb is just an animal, just a beast, huh? Because who's who in that? Mary is of course the dominant person. Everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. And that is not known here in Europe, I can tell you, at least not in Germany. I only know that because there was a disco song in the 1990s from a German band. That's why I know that there was a nursery rhyme, but it's not common here.
Someone made it in a disco song?
Yeah, someone made it in a disco song. And that was the group called Snap.
Weird.
Mary had a little boy. And I don't think that is a coincidence that it is just there somewhere out in space and it just incorporates a dragon or just a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a tyrant, a dinosaur. I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think so. Mary had a little boy. Yeah. That was the number one in Zimbabwe. 1990. The lyrics is based on the 19th century nursery rhyme Mary Had a Little Lamb. The chorus includes the line, quote unquote, Mary had a little boy, little did she know, and everywhere that Mary went, the little boy was sure to go. So you can see that it is just resemblance and reminiscence of that nursery rhyme. It was even in the United Kingdom single charts, number 8 in Great Britain. So come on. The video even received heavy rotation on MTV Europe, and in December 2022 the video has generated more than 6.5 million views, which means that it's just another form of indoctrination. Mary is the dominant and the little lamb or the little boy on that regard when you think it in disco terms or in just these music here nowadays. It's just a minor thing. The lamb is the minor thing and Mary is the big thing. That's just the same that they just like to present us with the Mary, the Queen of Heaven, who has just an innocent, helpless child in her arms. Right, Brett?
Yeah, I guess so. Mm-hmm.
And this virgin worship, you got it everywhere. You can just exchange the names, to Isis. What else you would like to come up with? You see, that is just always the same. It is just always the same. Don't let them fool you. You see, they can go in endlessly in all the stuff. When you think about the Washington Monument and you would depict then your fixed stars, then Mary or whatever would be then the fixed star would have the phallus of Osiris in her left hand. But I would not go down this road now because we have so much to learn. Yeah. So everything serves a purpose in life, but as if you're not in that small club on the regular basis, you don't know what they are just coming up with. That everything from the pyramids to Mary worship to the obelisk to Baal worship to the Osiris phallus to the Didi Plaza to JFK to the what else, Pentagon, everything has a meaning and is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. But you see that usually people who are just raising a family and all the stuff, they don't have that time to invest all their time and effort into all these things. These things are not just happening by random because it looks cool, or it's just refreshment or swimming pool for the general public. These things have a severe meaning about male and female worship. And where male and female are just coming together, then there is some offspring. So you can really see that everything is interconnected. And that's we will see here soon when we just switch the script and go to the Mary worship once again. But now this time not from heavenly bodies, but here from religious artifacts or just statues and pagan worship, the worship of the mother of all, the worship of the Virgin. So therefore I just switch the script. Let's start, for the heck of it, with Fatima. Fatima happens to be a city in Portugal, in Europe, southern of Europe, also quite hot there. It's just the neighbor of Spain. And there was an apparition from Fatima, apparently, in 1917, on the 13th of May. You see that if I would not know that the Pope also has been set into power on the 13th of March, you see they always have it with the 13. Always have it with the 13. So I have to enhance it here a bit, so not a bit, not... The secrets of Fatima. Oh, there are secrets in that church. Are a series of apocalyptic visions and prophecies reportedly given to 3 young Portuguese shepherds, Lucia, of course, Lucy, from Lucifer, so it's quite interesting that they come up with Lucia Santos. Lucia Santos would be in close relation, I think, to Lucifer and being a saint. Lucia Santos, interesting name. And her cousins Jacinta and Francisco, another Francis, Francisco Morto, by a Marian apparition starting on 13th of May 1917. That is, to remind everybody, in the middle of the First World War. The 3 children claim to have been visited by the Virgin Mary 6 times. The apparition is now popularly known as Our Lady of Fatima. So you can also exchange it with the Mary of Fatima. Because it's always the Virgin Mary. That's what these children tell you. It's very interesting that the Mary worship or this apparition only happened to these 3 young children who are just very easy to influence and did not happen inside a church and did not happen to adults. And I think that happens on purpose. Because usually at the age of, I have to look it up how old they were, you only believe in the Easter Bunny and on the Santa Claus or all the stuff. 1907, so she was 10 years old. Yeah. That would not be the big thing, but the interesting stuff is that she said, or Lucia said that she received 3 secrets. One of the hundreds of alleged Marian apparitions of the Catholic Church has investigated. Only 12 have received ecclesiastical approval, with 9 having occurred between 1830 and 1933. Interesting. I think that was the times when quite no one had a smartphone and had some television camera at hand. In the 3rd Memoir, 1941, Lucia Santos said that the first secret, the vision of hell, was disclosed to the children on the 13th of July. Another 13. We just learned it was on the 13th of March, now it is the 13th of July. Interesting, it must be the 13th, so wonder why that is. Our Lady shows us a great sea of fire, which seemed to be under the earth. Plunged in its fire were demons and souls in human form, like transparent burning embers, all blackened or burnished bronze, floating about in the conflagration, now raised into the air by the flames that issued from within themselves, together with great clouds of smoke, now falling back on every side like sparks in a huge fire without weight or equilibrium, and amid shrieks and groans of pain and despair, which horrified us and made us tremble with fear. The demons could be distinguished by their terrifying and repulsive likeness to frightful and unknown animals, all black and transparent. This vision lasted but an instant. How can we ever be grateful enough to our kind Heavenly Mother, who had already prepared us by promising in the first apparition to take us to heaven? Otherwise, I think we would have died of fear and terror. So, that was the first secret, who was only given to the 3 young children. To children, you see, the lady does not give her secrets to adults who could be of really help and could write it down, for example. Yeah, no, she gave her secrets to 3 young children. How clever is that? Second secret. The second secret refers to the devotion of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which is of course not in the Bible, and was initially only partially revealed to the children on 13 July 1917. Various prophecies related to this devotion were made, such as statement that World War I would end, along with the prediction of other war during the reign of Pope Pius XI, should man continue offending God and should Russia not convert. This is the big alarm bell. Because this is the second secret of the Virgin Mary in the prophecies of Fatima, 1917. In 1917 there was war, and Russia was a major player in that war. So the condition to have peace is the conversion of Russia. And now think of that. In 1917, what happened there? In 1917, and it is just quite obvious, there was a Russian revolution taking place in February 1917. And you don't want me to go into this, because then it takes another 5 sessions to go into the Russian Revolution, I guess, because it's not that easy. But you know that there were only 2 countries in the world, known to me at least, who were just protecting the Jesuits while they were expelled all over the world. That was Prussia in Germany, and that was Russia from Catherine the Great. So the Jesuits always had a major impact in Russia. And in Russia they had in 1917 the so-called February Revolution, the first of 2 revolutions which took place in Russia in 1917. And I think that is by no coincidence that close...
So, it's interesting, yeah, Michael, in the chronology of events happening here, that this is just before the United States joining in World War II, or World War I, excuse me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the conflict started in Europe, wasn't it? And I forget what month, but it was in 1914,
yeah,
right?
Serbia, yeah.
Serbia, right?
Franz Ferdinand, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is just before, I forget the event that triggered World War I. It says here, yeah.
It's the killing of Franz Ferdinand in,
yes.
Yeah. Official cause, of course. Yeah, you have to look between or behind all the stuff. He had been murdered in the 28th of June 1914 in Sarajevo.
It was in June, okay.
Yeah. So that was in June, yes. And it's also interesting because I think it was a fortnight ago that Serbia, I think, had a concordat then with the Vatican. So there is so much going on behind the scenes. It's just, where do you want to start? But my estimation is that if you look all the stuff that happened in 1917 with also the fall of the Tsar, the Russian Tsar, who happened to be the protector of the Russian Orthodox Church, then you see that 1917 was a major year. And I think they were all slaughtered in the end. The abdiction of Nicholas II in March 1917 as a result of the so-called February Revolution ended 304 years of Romanov rule and led to the establishment of the Russian Republic. The Bolsheviks in 1918 murdered Nicholas II and his family. The Bolsheviks, you have to believe it. But let's just go back to the apparition. when the First World War was just in full swing. We can also look it up when the United States, U.S. entrance first.
Oh, that was April. April 6, 1917.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
here you get April 4.
Yeah, it just I'm not just nitpicking here. You see that it is what it is.
Yeah, right.
The big thing is that it is just the message here that it just refers to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing to really see. That is also the connecting rod to everything that's just happening at the moment. Okay, so once again, a prediction of another war. During the reign of Pope Pius, should men continue offending God and should Russia not convert? They say there was a fear of war within the reign of Pope Pius XI. Luckily, quote unquote, he died on the 10th of February 1939, close to, let's say, 6.5 months before the Second World War broke out. My. You have seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go. That, of course, was the first secret. To save them, God wishes to establish in the word devotion to my immaculate heart. Aha, I did not know that. At least I did not read it in the Bible. Did you, Brad?
No.
If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. Aha, so the worship of Mary is the first and foremost condition for peace. The war is going to end, but if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out during the pontificate of Pope Pius XI. Luckily, we did not see that because the Pope died before the Second World War broke out. So, who's right then here, huh? I think that she's a little bit off then, huh? So, because the Second World War did not happen during the reign of Pope Pius XI, but the 12th, Hitler's Pope. Goes on to say, when you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given you by God, that he is about to punish the world for its crimes by means of war, famine, and persecutions of the Church and the Holy Father. Oh yeah, Brett, can you remember that actually this Geo-Logy session started about Matthew 24, which depicts wars, rumors of wars, and famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places?
Right.
So persecutions of the Church and the Holy Father, that could also only be a statement of a Roman Catholic, because the Holy Father, Matthew 23, call no man your father, because one is your father which is in heaven, so there is no Holy Father walking down on this earth. Yeah, when you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is a great sign given to you by God. That could be Aurora Borealis. This, the world tells you with their globe system and all their system about the sun system and spinning earth and all the stuff, they tell you that these are magnetic field lines on the North Pole. Aha. You have to believe it. I have quite another explanation in my mind for this, but don't have any sense in going into now this, because we will soon, or in a few sessions, we will see then why I'm not telling more about this, because otherwise we would lose track here. So this is an Aurora Borealis. These are artificial lights in the sky, where when you look it up, you see in the sky starts World War II. Aurora Borealis, January the 25th, 1938. Aurora Borealis started Europe. People flee in fear, call firemen. Britons thought Windsor Castle ablaze. Scots see the third omen, and etc., etc., etc. Shortwave radio halls, etc. So, there happened a strange natural phenomenon on the 25th of January 1938. A mysterious light that covered the sky in the evening and, as I was told later, extended over a large part of the northern hemisphere. It was called an unusual northern light, an Aurora Borealis, but that could not be the cause for two reasons. First, northern lights are caused by sunspots, and at the time there were only a minimum of them recorded. Second, the mysterious illumination of the sky, bright red color with no streaks or movement whatsoever, was entirely different from normal occurrences. And I don't have any sense in going into this nitty-gritty here, but it is just interesting. It only happened in the northern parts. Yeah? Can we agree on that? A large part of the northern hemisphere. Not in the United States of America, not in Latin America, in the northern hemisphere. Aurora Borealis, 25th January, 1 week before Hitler became Chancellor. Second Fatima secret. Spread fear in parts of Portugal. Fatima, huh? And Lower Austria, Adolf Hitler, German Reich, Führer, where thousands of Britons were brought running into the streets in wonderment. And I'm not going into this now, but I know that I have mentioned it somewhere, but just that you know that people told him that that was a sign that he was then to lead Germany into a 1,000-year-long Reich, so that he was the Messiah for Germany. But our subject is not Adolf Hitler or the Second World War, but Our Lady of something. To prevent all these wars, I shall come, said the Our Lady in Fatima, to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart. So it's just about Russia. So the only thing that can lead to world peace, because that was a world war going on, so when they talk about peace, of course, then it's a world peace, to my Immaculate Heart, the Lady of Fatima said, and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. Yeah, you see, Saturdays, of course, the days of Saturn, meaning you're talking about a pagan system. If my requests had it, Russia will be converted once again, and there will be peace. And now you wonder why Russia is in war again. We're not talking about the First or the Second World War or the Afghanistan War in the 1980s, but we are talking now of 2024. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecution of the Church. So Russia is always to blame, according to the Virgin Mary. And there are millions of people these days, I guess, who are worshipping the Virgin Mary, or the so-called Virgin Mary. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father, once again, blasphemy, will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father, once again, the Pope, will consecrate Russia to me, and she shall be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world. This is just this thing that happened 1917 during the First World War. The conversion of Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution, did not happen until November 1917, so a few months after that apparition took place. So, as a result of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Pope Francis announced the word consecrate Russia and Ukraine to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which he did on March 25th, 2022, so close to 2 years ago. No wonder, huh? So, we are all witnessing a part of the agenda. The third secret, however, has been disclosed in her memoirs 1941. And of course, it was then announced in the 13th of May. It always has to be the 13th. 83 years after that apparition took place. 19 years after the, I have to say, fake assassination, I guess, on the Pope John Paul II, that the third secret would finally be released. The text of the third secret as follows, at least on Wikipedia. After the two parts, the lady said, which I have already explained, at the left of Our Lady and a little above, we saw an angel with a flaming sword in his left hand. Left hand, interesting, left hand path. Flashing, it gave out flames that looked as though they would set the world on fire, but they died out in contact with the splendor that Our Lady radiates towards him from her right hand. Pointing to the earth with his right hand, the angel cried out in a loud voice, penance, penance, penance. And we saw in an immense light that is God. Something similar to how people appear in a mirror when they pass in front of it, a bishop dressed in white. We had the impression that it was the Holy Father or the Pope, other bishops, priests, men and women religious going up a steep mountain at the top of which was a big cross of raw heen trunks as of a cork tree with a bark. Before reaching there, the Holy Father, I'm just running out of ink, passed through a big city half in ruins and half trembling with halting step, afflicted with pain and sorrow, he prayed for the souls of the corpses he met on his way. Having reached the top of the mountain, on his knees at the foot of the big cross, he was killed by a group of soldiers who fired bullets and arrows at him, and in the same way there died one after another the other bishops, priests, men and women, religious, and various lay people of different ranks and positions. Beneath the two arms of the cross there were two angels, each with a crystal aspersiorium in his hand, in which they gathered up the blood of the martyrs, and with it sprinkled the souls that were making their way to God. And some say that this bishop in white, bishop dressed in white, would be then Pope John Paul II during his assassination. And I don't think so, but because he's not a bishop, he's the Holy Father. They assume it is the Pope, and maybe, just maybe, it could be that they played this assassination attempt in 1981, I think it was, just to fulfill the third secret of Fatima. Who knows? I'm not a prophet, I'm just researching all the stuff. Could also mean that in the way towards universal peace, that they will sacrifice people of a certain religious church in Russia to fulfill the third secret of Fatima. That's just a lucky guess. It's not a prophecy. I'm not doing prophecies. It is just a lucky guess. But this is just a profound impact of the prophecy of Fatima, which has an effect for World War I, for World War II, and for the current war between Russia and Ukraine. So these prophecies from 1917 have an impact more than 100 years ago, even still to this very day. In 2010, during a homily, 13 May, okay, they like this date. During a homily in Fatima, Pope Benedict said that we would be mistaken to think that Fatima's prophetic mission is complete. Yeah, a prophetic mission, I guess. A mission means sending out of Jesuits. He then expressed the hope that the centenary of the 1917 apparitions may hasten the fulfillment of the prophecy of the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary for the glory of the Blessed Trinity. Where do I find this? In the Bible? Maybe I've got the wrong Bible then. Maybe I should look in the Catholic Vulgata, but because I can't find it in the King James Bible. So, the other thing I would like to spare out, just for reasons of the time was just flying here, but it would be just the immense impact of the apparition in Fatima in 1917, during the First World War. I received a nice, interesting website from Hector, which is a dear Christian brother of us, because Hector, as he is a native Spanish-speaking individual, let's put it this way, he provided me with an interesting website which was in Spanish, and therefore I just had to translate it into English so that everybody could understand it. That is called About the Virgin of Guadeloupe in Mexico. And this website is a very critical website, which of course is blamed and it's tried to destroy by Catholics all over the place. It's called The Fraud of the Virgin of Guadeloupe, quite recent, from July 2020. The pious lies of the Church, beginning of the fraud of the Virgin of Guadeloupe. Once again, this is Mexico. Now this means we are on the American continent. We are not in Fatima, in Portugal, Europe. We are in Mexico, so close to the United States. At the end of the 13th century, Gil Cordero, a cowherder from Extremadura, was in the Sierra de Guadalupe herding his cows. Realizing that one of her was missing, he went to look for her, finding her dead on the river bank. As was customary then, he proceeded to mark the sign of the cross on her chest before stabbing it so he could skin her. What a strange tradition. At that same time, the Virgin appeared to him. We're speaking about the 13th century, so 1200 something. In the Dark Ages, in the Middle Ages, so when they had no Bible to read off, in their native language. That was not available, especially not in, of course, Sierra de Guadeloupe. At the same moment, when he wanted to stab the cow, the Virgin appeared to him. She told him to go to the town and inform the competent authorities of what he had seen. The cowboy did so, but no one believed him. That same night his son died, who was miraculously resurrected before the eyes of the ecclesiastical authorities when he was going to be buried. Interesting, huh? So the people who saw this happening were ecclesiastical authorities, whatever has been mentioned or been meant by that quote. Interesting. Brad, there is a term in American in English when somebody is not just dying, but
suffering or what?
No, not suffering. But it's like somebody is clinical dead. You see that? Wow, what a horrendous pictures. Oh, brr. A Jesuitical sun rays in the background. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks so. Thank Hector. No, I thought about that somebody who's not really dead but is supposed to be dead, and then he just gets back to life. I do not know how that is.
Yeah. What do you call that again? Yeah. I don't know. That's the problem, Michael. We can do all these recordings and everything, and that's great, but you got evening over there where you're at, but it's morning here, and my brain doesn't always work right in the morning, so I apologize.
Is it the 500 or the 600 time that you tell me? No,
probably 6,000.
6,000, yes. It's not a problem, but just I think of maybe there's also a natural cause in that he was not dead, because I think that is just very strange. But let's just skip it in this place.
Yeah, they just call that playing dead when someone does it on purpose or faking their death or
Okay. So that same night his son died, who was miraculously resurrected before the eyes of the ecclesiastical authorities, whoever that is, when he was going to be buried. So still talking of Mexico, they rushed to the place of the apparition to dig where the cow was. There, a wooden image appeared that they went directly to worship. Oh, directly to worship. They directly to worship, Brett.
Yep. Exodus 20, verse 3. Thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven or above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and the fourth generation of them that hate me.
Yeah, so the wooden image appeared that they went directly to worship. That is a absolute violation again, one or two of the 10 commandments, right? The image of the Morena Virgin gained great popularity from the year 1340. Alfonso, he was not the only historical figure devoted to the image. Later, Isabel I of Castile, the Catholic Christopher Columbus, etc. prayed to him. In fact, then the monastery was the meeting place of Isabel and Columbus before awarding him the caravels that would meet America on their way to the Indians. If you believe this. On their way to the Indians. Yeah. Apparently, 250 years later, on Cerro de Tepeyac, near the destroyed Tenochtitlan, a similar story is lived out. Coincidentally, in the same place where the Mexica worshipped Tonantzin, the goddess of the earth. So that means that the apparition of something, let's put it this way, is similar to the worship of pagan gods or goddesses in that regard. So, Tonantzin composing of our and mother, is the goddesses of Mother Earth, the goddesses of sustenance, the honored grandmother, or the snake, the bringer of maize, the mother of corn, can also be called Tonantzin. It is an honorific title comparable to Our Lady or Our Great Mother. So, as a pagan in Latin America or now in Mexico, you only have to exchange the names. In the Middle Ages, you had just worshipped Tonantzin, and now you just worship Our Lady of Guadeloupe. Some have claimed that upon the apparition of Our Lady of Guadeloupe in the hill of Tepeyac, where Tonantzin's temple had been destroyed by the Spanish priest, the native recognized Our Lady of Guadeloupe as Tonantzin, Coatlaxopio, meaning Our Lady who emerges from the region of light like the eagle from fire. And of course, it's just exchanging names. Tonantzin was a title for the maternal aspect of any Aztec goddess, not the name of a particular goddesses. So it was a title who has been attributed to somebody. Therefore, it is quite easy to exchange the name after the title of Tonantzin, as I understand it here, as not a native English speaker. When it was used as a title for Mary, the maternal aspect of the Aztec goddesses could be read into the Spanish Marian cult by Nahua Christians. Always green ink. This seems to be what happened, rather than the cult of Guadeloupe intentionally replacing an earlier temple or cult of an Aztec mother goddesses at their particular site. Once again, if you got an attribution, it's like the Holy Father. You see that it's just the Holy Father Benedict, the Holy Father Francis, the Holy Father Paul, the Holy Father this and that. It is just an attribution then. That means just Our Lady or Our Great Mother or Our Great Mother Earth. No wonder that they are just worshipping the earth when, of course, indigenous people, most likely, of these native ancient tribes, they just saw the sun, for example, as male, the moon as female, or the earth as the Mother Earth. Quite easy. It has been asserted that the word Guadeloupe in this appellation may derive from Coatlaxopeu, meaning the one who crushes the serpent, and perhaps referring to Quetzalcoatl. There we are in the middle of all the mess of the ancient belief systems of Latin America. That's also the colorful depiction of it, let's put it this way, in most likely traditional colors here. The name really came about because the Spanish remembered the Virgin of Guadeloupe in Extremadura, Spain, and they realized that by giving this apparition the same name as the one from their homeland, the etymological slippage between that term and the Nahuatl term would further contribute towards their project of conquest through cultural colonization, or let's just put it this way, of just exchanging names in the name of the Virgin Mary. Of note here is the historical fact that La Virgen de Guadeloupe is of tremendous significance in Mexico, reflecting a pre-Columbian understanding on the part of colonized people that Guadeloupe must be understood in relation to Coatlaxopeu, despite, I'm sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly, despite ongoing effort by colonizing forces to erase this historical context. Yeah, and you see that when you see that there is an identical name of the Virgin of Guadeloupe in Spain, and that the Spanish were in the majority who were just conquering the country which is now been known as Mexico, and many other countries in Latin, now called Latin America for that reason, also in the south of America, then it just seems quite likely that that happened this way. Because when you look upon the Jesuits then, which we did a few minutes ago due to the great contribution of Hector once again, thank you, then we see that the founder of the Jesuit order, Ignatius de Loyola, he was a Spanish nobleman. A soldier actually, but a Spanish nobleman. So Spanish nobleman, Spanish virgin, the Spanish people, they went, the soldiers, mercenaries, they went to Mexico, And then when there's an apparition that gets the same name as in Spain, and they can also have an honorary title then, which then replaces the old pagan religion. And from time to time, and from the next generation to the next generation to the next generation, you get a little bit of mixture in all in it, and hundreds of years later, nobody remembers anything, because history usually has been written by the victors. Interesting. So this is a depiction here of IHS when it comes down to an article, the assumptions about Jesuit relationship in Spain. Interesting when you see not only the sun rays here, but the depiction here of columns, which could also depict the church. And all these images here of angels or whatever that would be. It's interesting. I have counted them. I don't think that is a coincidence that it is, of course, 12. The author says here in that book about the Jesuits in Spain, whereas some deemed the Jesuits' theatrical religious displays to be excessive, the continued circulation of devotional images associated with the order, like the Sacred Heart, after the expulsion, demonstrates the public continued interest in these devotions. So the Sacred Heart is in very close relation to the Jesuits. Didn't we hear about the Sacred Heart in the prophecies of Our Lady of Fatima in 1917? So the article about, the Spanish article here is continuing. In her book, Borderlands, there is a Nahuatl word meaning the one who is at one with the beast, and Cotl is the natural word for the serpent. Aha. It is the story of the Virgin's apparition to Juan Diego. Guadeloupe tells Juan Diego that her name is Maria Guadalupe. And I don't think that we have to explain it, although this suggests that the name equates to, quote-unquote, the one who is at one with the beasts. Or, let's say, with the beast system, maybe. Tonantzin, so the original title of the Mother Earth goddess, sometimes used as a female given name. Yeah, that's it. The Mother of Death, the Mother of Rebirth, the Mexican Virgin of Guadeloupe. So there are some interesting articles about this as well. Our Lady of Guadeloupe continues. On December the 12th, 1531, so after the Spanish soldiers were for decades in Spain, fellow cowboy Juan Diego witnessed an apparition. As he had been told, he ran to the bishop of the diocese in Mexico, as he has been told. If you see something, you have to tell your superiors. He ran to the bishop of the diocese of Mexico, Brother Juan de Zumarraga, to tell him the good news. I don't think that is good news if you got a Mary apparition, because we know that the devil can disguise as an angel of light. He asked him for proof. Juan returned to the hill, and the Virgin ordered him to cut flowers and wrap them in his mantle, or the mantle is ayate, or what else that has been called, to take them to the bishop. Once back and releasing the flowers, the image of the Virgin appeared printed on his ayate, so on his mantle, to the astonishment of our protagonist and the stupefaction of future generations. I'm sorry, don't know what that is. That representation that has been adored since then is one of the great lies of this story. The deception is set in motion. The Virgin of Guadeloupe is probably the first case of religious syncretism on the American continent. However, syncretism was not something new for Europeans. The saints are full of Greco-Roman and even earlier deities. It is known to all that some of the dates in the so-called Christian calendar were made to coincide with pagan rituals, like Christmas, of course. Without going any further, the birth of Saint John the Baptist coincides with the summer solstice, sure. On the other hand, the birth of Jesus Christ takes place on the winter solstice, which is of course incorrect, but it just has to fit all these former pagan rituals and traditions. So it's very good that we have talked about this Assumption of Mary and the Immaculate Conception before, so that you now see that it's all just in line and all is just interconnected. The story starring the indigenous Juan Diego and the Durangara Fray Juan de Zumárraga is nothing more than an adaptation of Christian beliefs to the indigenous idiosyncrasy, which I don't think is a Christian belief, but I'm running out of ink as usual. Ayate is a natural fiber, by the way. The image of the Virgin or the cowboy's mantle, I say, was not made until 25 years and until after the appearance. It was made in the workshop of Pedro de Gante by an indigenous painter named Marcos Cipagli or Marcos Cipac de Aquino. I can't prove it. You see, this is just a skeptic website, but nevertheless quite interesting. You see the Mexican flag, interesting, which is quite similar to the Italian flag. Virgin's Day in Guanajuato. Virgin's Day. They all been just worshipping images and idols without even knowing. Without even knowing. It's just tradition. It's just tradition. You see, nobody questions because your grandmother has done it, your father has done it, your uncle is doing it, your brother is doing it, everybody's doing it. So why question everything? Because then you would just be the black sheep of the family. And most likely the majority of people does not want to play the black sheep of the family. The commission was carried out by the second bishop of Mexico, Fra Alonso de Montufar. Already at that time, the Franciscan friar Francisco de Bustamante protested to the ecclesiastical authorities against the fraud, apparently in vain. In the 18th century, the origin of the fraud has been lost in oblivion. It was then that the church commissioned a study of the image by a doctor from New Spain. He concluded that the canvas has been painted and repainted, destroying the theory that the image is of divine origin. Furthermore, he stated that the canvas was not made of maguey, as it was supposed, but of hemp fiber. Garments made with maguey fiber decompose naturally. Since the ayate, or the mantle, was not reduced to dust by the passage of time, it could only be due to divine intervention. It was a miracle, but no, it turned out to be just a lie. In 1883, the Mexican historian Joaquin Garcia Ixalbalceta discovered that none of the historical figures who lived at the time of the apparition make reference to it, neither in writings nor in letters. As expected, the ecclesiastic authorities turned a deaf ear to the historian's note. Ixalbalceta, with an ethical spirit superior to that of the religious, sent them a letter of which this is an extract. I am a Catholic, although not good. Sir, and devoted as much as I can to the Blessed Virgin, no one would want to take away this devotion. The image of Guadeloupe was always be the oldest, most devout and respectable in Mexico. Of course, I could not deny the possibility and reality of miracles. He who established the laws can well suspend or repeal them. With all my heart, I would like one so honorable for our country to be true, but I do not find it that way. And if we are obliged to believe and proclaim true miracles, we are also prohibited from divulging and maintaining false ones. And you see that it really has a big effect. I think that the Marian apparition in one way or another is extremely popular in all the countries calling themselves a part of Latin America, I guess. You see, then they're just carrying all these supposedly Marian figures here on their back. Pilgrims carrying already blessed images. How can you bless an image? You see that you are totally on the wrong path. But nobody reads the Bible, or nobody reads the authentic word of God. And they just all believe their pastors and they believe their tradition. Guillermo Schulenburg Prado, abbot of the Basilica of Guadeloupe, opposed the canonization of Juan Diego in 1996. He made the indiscretion of saying that the worship of the Virgin was a tradition but not a reality. He was forced to resign from his position a month after the scandal, and I found that even on Wikipedia. Juan Diego was a symbol, not a reality, he told them. And therefore, he had to resign. Nothing compared to what happened to Sanchez Camacho, bishop of Tamaulipas, who denied the apparitions of the Virgin and was excommunicated for this and also had to go into exile. You see, he could have been killed for his behavior. Excommunication. Yeah? Sanchez Camacho, the bishop who denied Guadalupana. I found that in that article here, if that article is authentic. In the 19th century. He was excommunicated. This is a... I don't want to read all of this, actually, because it's just a minor thing, but you can see it with your own eyes. You can look for the names and you will see that really... Maybe I read this. Since his arrival, the bishop began in his sermons to deny the apparitions of the Virgin of the Cerro del Tepeyac. In every mass, in every intervention, Sanchez Camacho denied the miraculous presence in the Guadalupana. With this, he destroyed a long-standing tradition towards the Guadalupe cult, established centuries ago by the Catholic hierarchy. Aware of the event, the Freemasons experienced a special affection towards their religious dissidents. He was excommunicated in 1899 and President Porfirio Diaz expelled him from the country. He went to live in the United States. However, he returned to Tamaulipas in 1900 and began to meditate in his country house located in front of Paseo Mendes, where the INE is now located, etc., etc. Yeah, but you see, there are people that like to believe in this. They like to believe in all the stuff. And I don't think that these apparitions are fake. I think that the Virgin Mary is fake. But I think that the evil side, they can do apparitions. But the problem is that the people do not read the Bible and they think these are just apparitions from an almighty God. That's the problem in it. Summarizing the above, it could be stated that the lie did not begin in Mexico, but in distant Spain. Who wonders? The Church affirms that the carving of the Virgin was made by Luke the Evangelist himself in the 1st century. Come on, really? My. Yeah, so... it does not make any sense. You see that I don't want to go into every nitty-gritty, but you see that all the people, they just want to worship a female virgin figure. And the name is exchangeable in every culture, in every time period. It's just exchangeable. As long as you do not follow the 10 Commandments, not to worship any images, not to bow down, and not to accept Jesus Christ as the only begotten Son, as the only Savior, the path to salvation, then you are lost. And that's, in my humble opinion, done on purpose. But, of course, what does the Roman Catholic Church do, who just would like to venerate images and idols? They beatified Juan Diego, a character who probably never existed, canonized by John Paul II. Despite all discordant and silenced voices throughout the centuries, despite the studies carried out that reveal that there are 3 different images of the Virgin superimposed, this nullifying her divine origin, despite all the regrets for the Church, lies are more profitable than truth, this website says. In addition to being a national symbol, it is also a symbol of religious union of the Hispanic community. On the other hand, the Basilica of Guadeloupe is the most visited pilgrimage center of so-called Christianity. What they mean is, of course, Roman Catholic pagan belief. So, approximately 10 million people come to this place every year. 10 million people! Imagine. Basilica store, credit card accepted. It's a business. It is simply a business. There's an enormous economic business that revolves around one of the most embarrassing orgs in Roman Catholicism. Yeah, and then I found 94 responses and I just gave up on looking into everything. Yeah, even criminals themselves give money when it comes to religion. But what religion would criminals prefer then, when it is not allowed to kill or steal in the real Bible, in the real 10 Commandments? No, you can answer that question, of course. Yeah, this article says nothing, proves nothing, barely makes citations, and is filled with hate. Yeah, that's the old argument. Yeah, but somebody has it right and says, don't surprise me at all, even Satan disguised himself as an angel of light. Yeah, That's it. So I'm skipping the rest of here because then you see that that would take hours and hours into going into this. In our King James Version 1611, which is then Deuteronomy 4, verse 16.
Yep, and that reads, "Lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. The likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see that they want to have something they look upon. They don't want to worship Jesus Christ in a spirit. They just want to worship wooden crosses. What else? Yeah, golden calves. It's also interesting. I found this quote of that interesting video, Secrets in Plain Sight. They said that the quote of the Freemasons was not complete. The complete quote, liberty, equality, fraternity, or murder. Interesting, huh? So that means...
Really?
Yeah, it's in that video here. That means actually that it is just communism or you die. So you can exchange now Our Lady of Guadeloupe with Our Lady in Fatima and much, 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 much more because they all are worshipping images and idols in the Roman Catholic Church. Quite in the open, not as a secret. Yeah, Immaculate Heart of Mary, and we have just learned that the Immaculate Heart is a part of the Jesuitical mission. So these are the three little children who saw this apparition. I don't think that they could differ between the miracle of Satan and the appearance of the Almighty God. And I think that's done on purpose. There is also Our Lady of Zaytun. This is an alleged photo of the Virgin Mary above the Church of Zaytun in Egypt, in Cairo, in 1968. 1968, there was, of course, the Vietnam War. So, the attributes of that Our Lady of Zaytun is a Virgin Mary dressed in white, a dove on her head, holding an olive branch while in praying position over a bell tower. Ah, interesting. An olive branch is supposed to mean a symbol of peace associated with the customs of ancient Greece and ancient Rome and is connected with supplications to gods and persons in power. Ah, so they say. But the Roman poet Virgil associated the plump olive with the goddess Pax, the Roman Irene, P-A-X, or enclosed P-X, and he used the olive branch as a symbol of peace in his poem Aeneid. I said, aha, interesting. Pax or Chiro. So that's the problem with all these abbreviations. It could mean anything and not the thing that they tell us. According to Lactantius, a Latin historian of North African origin, saved from poverty by the Emperor Constantine the Great, I have to cough when I read this, Constantine the Great, who made him tutor to his son Crispus, Constantine had dreamt of being ordered to put a heavenly divine symbol on the shields of his soldiers. I have to enlarge it a bit so that everybody can read it. The description of the actual symbol chosen by Emperor Constantine the next morning, as reported by Lactantius, is not very clear. It closely resembles the Tauro or staurogram, a similar so-called Christian symbol. The very day the Constantine armies fought the forces and won the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, 312 outside Rome. In this sign conquer. In hoc sic no. That's not mentioned here. Found that very strange. In the memoir of the Roman emperor, a miraculous appearance is said to have come in Gaul long before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. In later version, the Roman emperor had been pondering the misfortunes that befell commanders who invoked the help of many different gods and decided to seek divine aid in his forthcoming battle from the one god. At noon, Constantine saw a cross of the light imposed over the sun. So, there is a sun involved in that. Attached to it in Greek characters was the saying F Taut Nika in this conquer. That would be very close to IHS in hoc sic no. Eusebius wrote in the Vita that Constantine himself has told him this story and confirmed it with oaths late in life when I was deemed worthy of his acquaintance and company. Indeed, says Eusebius, had anyone else told his story, it would not have been easy to accept it. But of course, if an emperor tells it, then it must be the truth, right? Eusebius left in a description of the Labarum and the military standard which incorporates the Chi-Rho sign. You see, it is not a Christian sign. They claim it is a Christian sign. There are no Christian symbols. When you read the Ten Commandments, there are no Christian symbols. It's all pagan. Dated 4th century. The X was the crux decusata, a symbol of the cross. Yeah, what do you now have with Elon Musk? X, huh? Yeah. So the symbol of the cross, in my humble explanation, is not only a symbol of the sun, but a symbol of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Yeah, so come on, it has nothing to do with Christianity. No symbol has a meaning to real Christians. Because if it would have a meaning, then you would not follow the Ten Commandments. According to the Egyptian church, the Coptic church, Coptic tradition, Zaitun, so Our Lady of Zaitun, is near one of the locations where the so-called Holy Family stood during their flight into Egypt. You know, that was in the time of King Herod. On 4th May, on any year, the Pope Kyrillus VI issued an official statement confirming the apparitions. The Pope Cyril VI of Alexandria. We're not talking about now our Holy Father in Rome. We are talking about the Pope Cyril of Alexandria. Oh, Alexandria, with the famous library. And the Alexandrian scream, the fourth scream of the Bibles. Congratulations. So the Pope, which also means Papa, which means our Father, or Holy Father on that regard. The 116th Pope of Alexandria and Patriarch, etc. So it is all just paganism. They are just following a man instead of God. Yeah, Jesus did not leave any pope. Nuns of the so-called Society of the Sacred Heart, also witnessed the apparitions and sent a detailed report to the Vatican, resulting in an arrival of an envoy who also saw the apparition and sent a report to Pope Paul VI. Oh, I know Pope Paul VI. Yeah, think of John F. Kennedy. So there's also Society of the Sacred Heart. That's for the female ones. The Catholic Centralized Religious Institute of Consecrated Life on Pontifical Rights for Women, established in France, 1800, 1800, 666. Original emblem of the Sacred Heart. Wow, look at the sun here. My, the Sacred Heart. Yeah. Cross, sword, flame. Yeah, where to start? Along with bishops, priests, and the Jesuits, and most of the families of their students. Do I need to read any further? No, I don't have to. I'm just saving time here. Saving time. And this Society of the Sacred Heart, believe it or not, holds an NGO status at United Nations as a special consultant with the Economic and Social Council. Congratulations. Congratulations. You see, the entire world is an entire mess. You don't find anything positive. It's just everywhere that you see that it's just deception. Amid the turmoil of Russia's 2022 special military operation in Ukraine, sanctions against Russia and fears of nuclear war, the Ukrainian Latin Catholic bishop requested Pope Francis to, quote-unquote, publicly perform the act of consecration to the Sacred Immaculate Heart of Mary of Ukraine and Russia, as requested by the Blessed Virgin in Fatima. May the Mother of God, Queen of Peace, accept our prayer. Regina Pacis, ora pro nobis. I lack any words to comment this. You won't find that in the Bible. Pope Francis consecrated Russia and Ukraine to the Immaculate Heart of Mary on 25th March 2022 at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, stating, Mother of God and our Mother, interesting, to your Immaculate Heart we solemnly entrust and consecrate ourselves, the Church and all humanity, especially Russia and Ukraine. And I was reminded I was reminded to something that Brad and I had done in the past. And that is in session 92, when it comes down to atom 6 and the apparition and the trumpet of not only Ukraine, but of Chernobyl. And this is an excerpt that I have cut out, edited within this week, and I can put it onto this session as well. So that we don't have to go into this. But you see, she appeared in 1987, Our Lady of Rashiv, or whatever that has been called. I'm sorry, I can't speak all these. I would love to speak all these languages, but I don't. Yeah, I'm finally at the end of everything. I just wanted to know what explaining the faith Ukraine. I just want to show you that video actually, because I think that apparition into Ukraine. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh my poor boy. Maybe that is a poisonous metal. Yeah. So what's that? What's that called? It's called Explaining the Faith Ukraine. Maybe we can find it. Explaining the Faith Ukraine. I think that's it. Let's have a look. Yeah, what is heaven telling us on which timestamp? 14 minutes. Okay, let's get it on. Maybe we got lucky here. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, then I will enhance it. I will slow it down, and we will have English subtitles. Okay, so maybe that's useful. That we all see there are no coincidences. Yeah, nobody here in America has ever heard of. But it means everything right now. Yeah, 1986, yeah. Mary, the mother of God. Appeared to a 12-year-old girl. Yeah, they only take them when they're young, huh? Named Maria. Oh, my, really. Yeah. 1987. Yeah, exactly the 1 year anniversary. Yeah. Yeah. What a coincidence. They all served their prophecy of Fatima and the Pope and the papacy bread. A nuclear warning about what man could do. Yeah, it's fear-mongering. Yeah, so the Orthodox Church, huh?
Yes, correct.
The Great Schisma,
Yeah, that's right. The schism, sure. There's multiple
The Latin
schisms.
Western Church. Oh my, I'm sorry for that. Oh. Beautiful rites. Yeah, great. It's
Beautiful rituals.
Yeah. Under
No,
Rome.
rituals are not beautiful.
No. Uh-huh. Yeah, but they are still Catholic.
Oh, sure, of
Yeah.
course. That's the trouble. It's just, the east and west is the two legs of the Roman beast. Eastern leg and the western leg. Could be more simple than that.
Yeah, collapse of the Soviet Union. And in 1991, Ukraine became independent or sovereign. Mary's apparition in Ukraine. What a coincidence, huh?
Mm-hmm.
How many people out there really know what this with the Marian apparition and the prophecy of Fatima?
Well, they're just more deceived souls like we are. We've been deceived too.
Yeah, it's really sad in what condition the world actually is.
Yep. There's nothing wrong once you repent of it, Michael.
Mary had appeared. Yeah, the Ukraine is very special to Mary. Yeah, it's also very special to the papacy.
Yeah, that's the point. That is the point.
It's just a tool on the way to the United States of the Earth, or what? Or United Belief. Right. Yeah, so yeah.
Many possessions, Eucharist, masses, worship, etc. Processions. Excuse me. Yes, processions.
May, the month of Mary. Oh yeah, 1914. Yeah, I know. Yeah, to some people, working in the fields, and she appeared to some children. It's always very children were very
and
easy
she
to
told
influence.
them there would be war now. War did not come in the world.
Yeah.
A few years later, and she said, these are Mary's words, not mine. Okay.
No, I doubt that these are Mary's words.
These are Satan's words, not mine. Yeah, so much for self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, Russia will become separate from the Pope and his his influence. That's what that means.
Well, it's just easy. If Russia collapse on their belief system, then that was just the first thing of a kind of a domino effect.
Well, and the thing is, what does that really mean? Because you've seen Vladimir Putin bowing down before the images and idols of the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Yeah, and at the same time, they have issued a law, I think it was in 2015, around that time, that cannot openly preach about Jesus Christ in the public.
Yeah, that's right.
You're only allowed to preach the gospel in churches.
Yeah, that's
at least that was my last info.
I agree. That's right. I heard the same thing.
This is just so interesting, and
I vaguely remember it.
Yeah. She appeared, so Our Lady of Rashiv in Ukraine, where now is war, but wasn't in the 1980s. She appeared in Ukraine exactly 1 year to the date of the incident in Chernobyl on the nuclear reactor. 1 year to the minute after the accident of Chernobyl. You can read it there. So that's what I would like to close down the session with. And then you see, that the appearances of all the Mary figures are in absolutely violations of the Ten Commandments, and also have a huge impact on world politics. When you see that it has now been stated that in the second secret of so-called second secret of Fatima, that Russia has to be consecrated, although that would be then the start of world peace. So that means that Russia has to go into war, or be dragged into the war, and Russia has to be defeated by all means, according to the Virgin Mary apparitions in Fatima in 1917. And then Mary appeared in Chernobyl, she appeared in Ukraine, and now in 2022 the Pope Francis has then asked for the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and they want to achieve world peace in the United Nations and where else. And then you know their agenda, I think. There are many, many things that you can start your own research. I tried to give you a solid foundation on that, and I just want to thanks for bearing with my horrible English sometimes, and I'm just handing it over to my beloved brother in Christ, Brett.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's always interesting when you're out and about and you see these things. Years ago, saw this bumper sticker on a vehicle, and I'm going to send you an image here, Michael, here when I get this to work right. I have to move a couple things around here on my desktop to get this to work right. Go to the chat and send you an image here so you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And as soon as it shows up, yeah.
I visualize world, please. Interesting. Interesting, yeah.
That's what we got going on.
Okay, would you like to close it down, or would Hector like to have some comments?
Yes, Michael. Well, this story of Guadalupe is a history that it gets better and better through the years. So what I mean to say is there is an official story that it was written in 1649. And surprisingly enough, this history of the Virgin of Guadalupe, it was written by a Jesuit priest named Luis Lasso de la Vega, right? But the history doesn't start from there. It started in the 13th century, 1212. And that year, that's where the myth of the history of Guadalupe, which Guadalupe is not a word, a Spanish word or Mexican word or Nahuatl word. It's a word from it's Arab. It's an Arab word, and it means the river of the wolves. That's what it means, Guadalupe, river of the wolves.
Yeah, lupus means wolf in Latin. Yep. That's correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. The river of wolves. That's what it means. So that story, that it was in what is known now Spain. It was the Iberic Peninsula, and this story it gets, like I said, it was the same story that they used in Spain, and they kind of make it fit to the new Spain, which is Mexico now. So the history of Mexico with the apparition of the Virgin of Guadalupe it was registered to be in the year 1531. But in that year, where this priest that he was supposed to see it, it was this guy. It was not in New Spain. It was in Spain. So when they said this priest talked to Juan Diego, or the Indian guy, it never happened, because in the real account of the history, Juan de Zumárraga was not in the New Spain, in Mexico. So there is so many contradictions in this history. And the image appeared around the year 1556 or something like that. And the final or official story of Virgen of Guadalupe it comes out until 1649 by this Jesuit priest, Luis Lasso de la Vega. Something very interesting is not just the story from Spain and Mexico. It's similar, but it's also similar in all the other Latin American countries. So if you study the history of those apparitions or those virgins in these other Latin American countries in Central America or South America, it's basically the same history. So there is no new thing. It's everything very similar, which is it makes it really interesting to say so. So that's basically what I have to say. Thanks for your explanation and all your information. I think is very valid. And something that you also said, it was what happened in Ukraine in the years when in the last few years when it's been this war going. Many things they're not known to many people, but there's this many possible causes that make this conflict to happen in the eyes of the world, which are it's because they have internal problems between these racial groups, or because Russia is taking advantage of Ukraine, and there's so many things that they arise in the narrative of the historical view that they give to the people. But in reality, the ones that we study this war, we find that it was not because those all these situations, but it was because the Vatican wants to have control of the Orthodox Church in Russia, and that's something that I found in my personal study. But I don't want to go into it. But people, they can see many of the things that are happening related to the apparition of Virgin of Fatima. They're related to these events where these nations, they have to bow down to the church or his image in order for them to survive or to be conquered. That's what I have to say.
Nice. Thank you for the contribution, Hector. It's always great to hear what you got for us as well, in addition to Michael's research. Yeah, it's quite a lesson of tradition. I think that, by default, we take tradition very seriously until we encounter that spirit of truth, really. What's the truth of tradition anyway? Well, the Bible speaks of it quite a bit, actually. It's quite interesting how traditions can deceive, actually. And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different topics you could go on in this regard, because there's a lot of tradition no matter where you grow up, no matter where you live. It's just so thick you can cut it with a knife, I think, so to speak. But anyway, Michael, thanks. I appreciate the study today. Looking forward to the next one. And we'll just hopefully hopefully be able to bear with what's going on in the world right now, and just make it through to another day. So hope to see you then, God willing. We'll catch up later. God bless. Bye-bye.